All right, here's another make and take for the November retreat. This one requires a little bit more explaining to do. So this is some using our distress ink. We're going to use some embossing, heat embossing. We're going to use some stickles, some glitter paper, some shimmer trim, some shimmer brush. So we're going to do all kinds of fun stuff with this one. So you'll grab out a card in an envelope. You'll have a packet of paper. There's only four things of paper. You are going to have a snowflake. It'll be actually a half a snowflake. So cut my snowflake in half here. I didn't get my snowflake cut in half. You're going to each have a half a snowflake, which is just fine. So in your packet. So those are our basic pieces that we're going to be building here. You are going to want to use your mat, your Versamat. So if this is your first make and take, everyone's going to have some Versamat so that they can try it out. This is a wonderful thing to have. It wipes off really easy. We're going to use some shimmer trim. We're going to do that last. Clear embossing powder. You are going to want to have a piece of paper, a piece of scratch paper. This is just an old piece of copy paper. I'm going to use this in a little bit. You're going to have a shimmer brush. We're going to use those at the end. So these are things that we're going to use towards the end. Right now, the only thing that I'm going to need is this white rectangle. We're going to use some stickles at the end. We have some of our brushes. These are colored. The Close to My Heart ones are black. We've got some of our Distress Oxide inks, so Salvaged Patina, Chipped Sapphire, and Villainous Potion. So those three colors. Your heat gun is in here. Mine's already plugged in, just kind of so we don't have to do that. We're going to use White Daisy. This is our pigment-based ink. So White Daisy is the only pigment that we own, that we at Close to My Heart have. We're going to have our stamps, which is the stamp of the month for November. It's so pretty, you guys. And you'll have a bone folder. All right, so I'm going to set this off to the side. So we got a lot going on in this one. It won't take long once we get it going, but so this is our Versamat. It's a Teflon coated. So if you have any kind, you saw I just got some adhesive off of there. So that's really nice. We're going to use our foam. We're going to put our we're going to put our paper over top, our scratch paper. And here's where it's going to get a little tricky, because in the couple samples that I did, we needed to work a little quick. So I'm going to have all my pieces on my blocks. These will all be on there for you. So this is our big Mandala snowflake. I'm going to put it down and then put my block on top of it. This is our 4x4 inch block. It fits perfectly on here. Okay. This one is on our 3x3 block. And that will fit perfectly on there. We're going to use this little snowflake. We're going to use him quite a bit. And, you'll have some stamp chamois. And we're going to use Wishing You a Joyous Christmas. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on one of these little mini blocks. Okay. So we're ready to go. All of our pieces are in order. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our biggest one first. And actually, I think on this one, you can't even see it because I covered it up. So if you make a mistake or don't like it, the way it turns out, you can do some covering up. So I'm going to take my biggest snowflake, and where I'm going to stamp, now I've got my foam underneath here, as I'm going to go off of it. So that's why I put this paper over. I'm going to go kind of on the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink into my stamp into my ink pad. Click one, tap, 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 tap. I can see that it's on there. So this is where it's going to get a little trickier, guys. If you need to, this one you can see it got a little white on there. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I forgot one quick thing. We want to use our anti-static bag across our paper. We won't get any embossing powder where we don't want it. So I'm just going to go ahead, put a little more ink on it. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go right on the, like in this bottom corner. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp, really press down. And you can't see anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. And this is just an old membership thing that I don't do anymore. And I'm going to emboss this one right away. So this is just the clear embossing powder. Because I found by the time I got to the other ones, this one was already a little bit on the drier side. So I am going to go ahead. I'm going to turn on my heat gun. You'll need to plug this in. And you need to let it heat up just a tad bit. You might need it, tweezers, but I don't think so if we do it this way. So what you're going to see is it's going to turn a little bit of color. And we're doing white on white. So you're not going to get a big ooh-ah like we would if it was silver or gold. But we're going to get that when we add the ink to it. This is going to work as a resist. So instead of me showing you all these cool things, you're going to get to do quite a few of the cool techniques. All right, so we've got one of them in the corner, and it's going to be really hard for you guys to see. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to take my smaller snowflake, and I'm going to ink this guy up. And so I've got mine here. And I'm going to ink him in this corner. And now I'm okay. I don't have to, I can take my smaller snowflake, and actually I'm going to do him one more time. Right there. And then I'm going to take my smaller little snowflake and add a couple in there. I'm going to flip over my paper, add my embossing powder again. So I don't know if you saw it the first time because it was kind of moving fast. You're going to tap it a little bit. It's going to fall onto your extra paper, and you're just going to put it right back in that bowl. Ziploc works great. This is really old stuff. I think I've had this for almost about 20 years. All right, so we're done with our ink. Put that away. Now that I have the powder on there, it's good. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up. And since it won't take as long this time, and we can go ahead and you'll see when it changes colors. And it'll turn kind of a glossy white. It turns almost metallic, and then it goes to a gloss. If you get done and it feels crystally or sandy-like, it's not done. You need to heat it just a tad bit more. It should feel smooth when it's all done. And I think this heat gun heats up to like close to 400 degrees. So you want to be very careful that you don't touch it while it's hot. All right. So you're going to have this is the one you want to make sure that you get cleaned off because we're going to be reusing that one again. So you'll have your stamp chamois. And you probably are going to need to clean the stamp chamois in between every couple people. Simply because this is really kind of gooey. ink. So we're just going to wipe it off. Pigment ink dries really slow. Pigment paint, dye dry. Most of our, is how I remember it, dye inks are dry. Pigment is like paint. Paint dries slow. So we're going to clean this off. Set it aside because the next person will be able to use it. All right, so we're going to put these back in our, we only need now the little snowflake and then the words. And we're done with our white ink. So now we're going to do some fun stuff. I'm going to move my Versamat for right now. So I'm going to get out my 3 inks and my brushes. And what I found is I started with purple, and then I went to the blue, and then I went to the turquoise or the teal. So I can kind of, and I like to kind of pounce them on my Versamat here. And I started at the center, and this is when the magic happens. Usually we can see it when we ooh-ah. You get that ooh-ah moment when we emboss. But I don't know. I think you guys can see how those snowflakes are coming out, popping out there. And when we get done, you're going to need some paper towel or something like that as well at the end of this one. And if you want it darker in these areas, at the end, you can kind of come back over and do them darker. So there's my purple on my, I'm going to grab the blue. So purple. This is my chipped sapphire. This one really takes up the ink quite well. See what's happening? I'm just kind of swirling right over top and kind of bigger. Across these snowflakes. See why I want this Versamat underneath here? You can kind of see it going around. And now I'm going to bring in the teal. Kind of even bigger. And just to kind of fill in some of these areas, I can even go over top of them. Did you just see that one pop? And I'm going to try and color in most of this area. Now, if you have these and you have the dome or the flat, those will work just fine as well. But I kind of like the brushes. I think they're a little bit more forgiving. So you're going to get a couple chances to use some of the brushes with our make and takes. All right, so I think everything is kind of covered now. And if I want to go back and add a little bit more on top somewhere, I sure can do that. And I can just kind of keep rubbing it in. Maybe I want a little more purple in this area. I wanted it to kind of look like maybe a snowstorm. And there, I'm even just grabbing some off of that. See, if I keep working on it, it just kind of keeps melting in. And I wanted that want that purple just a little bit more. I can add a little bit more back in there on these guys. All right, I'm done. So it's gonna kind of be as good as if you want to keep going, you can. But for right now, I'm gonna be done. So I'm gonna put these off to the side. So these, oh, actually, I need the Villainous Poison yet. I have a paper towel, and it's just a regular plain old paper towel. It's dry. So what I want you to do is I want you to go over this with a dry paper towel. Right over where we heat embossed, because that will clean off that white and those snowflakes will pop. So they will be white. Very cool, huh? All right. As for this, if you have something that's wet, you can just spray it a little bit, clean it, wipe it off so that the next person doesn't have your ink on it. And we can put that away. So put that back in with our stuff. Now we're gonna bring over, I'm gonna bring my Versamat back. And I am going to stamp on my piece of wisteria. I think we're done with that. So this is my wisteria. If you want, you can cut it into your pennant cut right now, or you can stamp and then cut it. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut and then stamp. All right. And then same thing with the navy little strip. This is going to be another little pennant, and I'm going to, what I do there is I fold in half, go from corner to fold. Super quick and easy. And I can decide whether I want the light side or the dark side. I think this time I'm going to go with the light. I'm going to flip this over. I'm actually going to use this. I've got my saying, because this one fits, wishing you a joyful Christmas. Not your typical Christmas colors, are they? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my ink here. So it's not just for distressing and moving around and coloring backgrounds and all that. It's actually can be used for a stamping ink. So I'm going to clean this off. Oh, I guess I'd use the navy. Yeah. And then we've got our small little snowflake here. So I am going to stamp first generation, second generation, first generation, oh, I guess first generation, and second generation. We can even do a third. Let's do one more on the top. Okay, all right. But this is pigment ink. Remember, it dries slow. So in order to, this one's kind of a in between. So in order for this to dry, I'm going to use my heat gun quick. Just give it a quick blast of heat. Then it won't be running or anything. All right. Now we're ready to put it together. You might want to look at your fingers. Ink can be quite messy, this ink. So if you don't want to get it on your card or anywhere that you don't want to have it, go ahead and check that out today. Oh yeah, here's my card. So I've got my card now. I'm going to fold it mountainside in. This is one of our slimline cards. Again, oh, I've got a bone folder this time, so we'll use that. All right, so we've got a piece of the chip sapphire, or not chip sapphire, sapphire, I'm going to adhere this right to my card base. And you'll see there might be you might see a couple sparkles on there. That's what happens if you don't allow your stickles to dry all the way. So now I like both sides. I'm gonna do this way and get this big medallion on there. So I'm going to adhere our snowflake that we just made. And I'm going to center that one again. Okay. Then I'm going to add my pennant here, this little navy sapphire pennant. Then we're going to add, oh, that one wasn't quite dry there, I see. So on the left side, I don't want to put adhesive right close to the edge, okay? Because we're going to stick that little, I'm going to put this right to the top, kind of overlapping. There we go. I have my cute little half a snowflake. It is a thin cut. It's the Snowflake thin cut that's in the new catalog, in the Christmas, or the October to December catalog. So there's a couple that didn't pop out. I'm going to just pop those out really quick. So you might want to take a look at yours. Just they're cut. They're just kind of with that glitter. They just kind of stick in there. All right. I'm going to use a liquid adhesive. You don't have to, but I like my liquid on smaller things like this. And I'm just going to tuck it under here. And if I need a little more adhesive like in here, I'm just going to stick some under there. Oh, where did he go? There's my snowflake. Hold that down for a second, just so it adheres. All right, we're getting close. So shimmer trim. This is the coolest stuff. It is self-adhesive. Now, if you are nice to the person, or if the person ahead of you was nice, they left a little tail on this carrier. If they weren't, they cut it off. Here's how I suggest you do it. I put mine about 1/4 inch down. So I used my mat. And what I did is I came across the top. It's very flexible and very sticky. So I'm going to come and I'm going to go across the whole entire card as close as I can. And then, sure, it's very sticky. I just told you that. Okay. So there's that. And I'm going to come over here and press it down. And then I'm going to trim, well, it's still on the carrier sheet. I'm going to trim it off and leave this tail on my carrier sheet for the next person. If you don't, you're going to have to try and peel that apart. My trick is to take a piece of scrap paper, put a little adhesive down, and then you push it down, and then you'll be able to pull this up and your carrier sheet will stick to it. I would suggest, to be nice, and leave that little bit of carrier on there. All right. So we are so close to being done with this card. I'm just going to trim that off. So we've got shimmer trim, shimmer paper. We're not quite done yet. We've got a shimmer brush. This is this is periwinkle. And what I did is I just kind of came in and did some of the centers of these. And if you haven't seen the shimmer brush, they come in like 40 different colors. I just went in and did the centers of these guys, these smaller circles. And you could come in and do like some of these. It just gives that really cool shimmer. I like to call it like lip gloss for paper because it gives that shimmery shine to it. And maybe the center in here too. And you could do it as much or as little as you want, or not at all, or however you would like. But I think it just adds a little bit. And you know, snowflakes are shimmery. Okay. So close, guys. So stickles, a glitter glue. So we're going to add some glitter glue I did to the centers of these small snowflakes. Now, be careful, again, with this, because if you're not, and you touch it before it's dry, it will smear. So if you like sparkles and you don't want to buy all those things of sparkles, a bottle of stickles will last you a long time. So there is your Christmas card. Wishing you a joyful Christmas. It wasn't that fun. All right. Hopefully you're having a great time and you're doing all the make and takes. So keep enjoying.